Ugh. Hi guys, this is my March wrap-up video, and I haven't had a lot of time. Well, I have had time, but I haven't had a chance to film this month. So excuse me about my hair. I know it looks terrible. I will cut it soon, I promise. I'm sorry you have to look at it, but what? I can't do anything about it. And also the clothes. I'm just not feeling it today. Anyway, I'm just going to get started. The first book I read was The Rats by James Herbett, and I did talk about this one a little bit in my book haul video, and yeah, I gave it 2 stars. I wouldn't really recommend it to anyone. You can probably guess what it's about. It's about these rats. It's about these like huge rats that start invading the city, and I don't think we even find out where they come from. They just randomly appear, I think. And we've got our main character. He's a school teacher, and I can't remember his name. That's really all I know about him. I know that he's a school teacher, and I know that he has a girlfriend. That's it. That's the only thing I know about him. So you can tell that it's got very heavy character development. That said, I think the plot was pretty straightforward. There wasn't really very much tension. There wasn't anything to really suck me into it. I'm just glad it's so short. The book actually has these random death scenes, like of random characters, like every few chapters. Ziggy, what are you doing? Ziggy, no, go away. Like, you'll be reading the chapters of the main story, and then sometimes these random death scenes come out of the blue, and it's actually funny because the characters from the death scenes have more character development than our main character. But I'm just going to read you a little section just to give you a taste of the writing style. So this guy's in the cinema with his girlfriend, and of course the rats come into the cinema. They start biting people, killing people. His girlfriend gets eaten, I think, and he's trying to escape, and he doesn't, obviously. The rats get on top of him and start biting him and tearing at him, and I'm going to read this little section just for shits and gigs. His arms beat at them, growing weaker and weaker every effort, until he finally laid them across his face for protection, allowing the creatures to gorge themselves on his body. Raising one arm from his eyes, he stared up uncomprehendingly at the huge coloured screen above him. His eyes read the words, and his voice spoke them faintly, but his brain did not understand. He whispered, "The end." And then it stops there. Stops there, and then the main story continues. So it's a lot of fun. The next book I read was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. It was very different from what I was expecting. I really enjoyed Frankenstein's story. The whole book was, as I said before, so much more different than I was expecting. Frankenstein's monster was really creepy, I thought. On the cover he kind of just looks like a zombie, to be honest. But in the book I really got the sense of how monstrous and terrifying he was. It really quite creepy, actually. There was some parts that I was kind of creeped out by him. I really liked Mary Shelley's writing style. I thought it was really nice. You know, that old school English, there's nothing better, in my opinion. The only complaint I had was that the story at times seemed a bit aimless. You know, the things Frankenstein was doing, like, Frankenstein's all over the place, and sometimes I'm just not that into it. I think she should have focused a bit more on him and the monster. but it was alright. That was one thing that put me off. The rest of it I think is pretty good. I recommend this book, even if it's just to educate you on the original Frankenstein story, because it's pretty good and very different from what pop culture makes it out to be. I thought it was a lot more contained, constrained, and quite good. The next book I read was Animal Liberation by Peter Singer. This is a non-fiction book, and I rated it 4 stars out of 5. I was slightly disappointed in this, just because I had such high hopes for it, but I still really liked it. There's a chapter dedicated to the factory farming, and there's a chapter dedicated to animal experimentation. There's a few chapters about, you know, the history of the animal rights movement, from, you know, all the way from Pythagoras. I don't know how you say it in English actually. Pythagoras, and Aristotle's. I've never said those names in English, it sounds really weird. I've always, you know, I'm Portuguese, I'm sorry. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. It also talks about vegetarianism and the diet itself to give riksdag. But what's the matter, riksdag? But if you're looking for a book to give like your fellow meat eater friend, or you want to tell them or show them about vegetarianism, I'm not sure this is the right book to give them. Singer's writing style isn't the most readable. It's quite monotonous. Not to say I didn't enjoy it, but I think the average person would find it quite boring, to be honest. But you can tell he's a good philosopher and a good thinker, and his actual arguments in the book are pretty much undeniable. You know, he's right about everything, in my opinion. And yeah. Excuse me. The next book I read this month was V for Vendetta. I'm sure everybody has an idea of what this is about. I saw the movie and I really like it. I've seen it quite a few times, and I really like this. It's so different from the movie. I was quite surprised. What do you want, Sixta? Sixta. In this case, I think the movie is pretty equal to the book. Alan Moore said he didn't enjoy the movie. I can understand why, because the story is so, you know, complex and dense. I can imagine him not really liking how they watered it down slightly. I can imagine him not being too fond of the love story they created in the movie. There isn't really any of that in the book. It's more of a mentor-apprentice kind of relationship between Evie and V, as opposed to a love relationship. Maybe that's what he didn't really like. I'm not sure, but I can understand why he wasn't too fond of it. Anyway, I gave this 4 stars. The story itself to me was maybe a 5-star, 4-star, 5-star. The art is what kind of let me down. I kind of like it, but it's kind of confusing at the same time. I like the style, but sometimes I couldn't tell characters apart. The panels, I don't know, it was just confusing to me sometimes. So the artwork kind of brought it down to a 4. But it's almost a completely different story in the book, and I would recommend anybody who likes the movie to give it a go, because it is quite different, and they might, you know, find something more in the story by having experienced both. The next books I read this month were The Matron and The Scorch Trials. I'm currently reading The Death Cure. It's in my school bag. And I'm happy with it. The matron I gave 4 stars. I thought it was really good. Pretty solid, fun book. And yeah, impressed with it. The Scorch Trials I gave 3 stars. I still liked it. It wasn't as fresh as the Maze Runner. Like I said in my review of this book on my Goodreads, there were some things I was kind of iffy on. I won't go into any detail because it would spoil the first book. But some things I can kind of look past, other things not so much. But at the same time, this was also a fun book and I enjoyed reading it. So that was my March wrap up for you guys. I'm sorry about this once again, and this, I'm not looking my best today. I want to try and make some different videos, maybe show you my artwork, because I am in an art course after all. I'll tell you what, I'll show it, I'll make a video about it at the end of the year when I've done everything I need to do, and I can give you a little taste of what I do in my day-to-day life. I'm quite happy with some of it and I'd like to document it and share it. Actually, here, I'll show you a couple of pictures I drew last night. I drew both of these pretty quickly. One of my assignments this month is to draw some clothes and stuff, so I started last night. I drew one Alexander McQueen outfit. I just drew it with pen. I think it came out pretty okay. And I made another one. This is a Gareth Pugh. Sorry if the lighting's not the best, by the way. Ziggy! Yeah, those were just a couple of drawings I did last night. I'll show you some of my actual projects and stuff in a different video. But yeah, that's it, I think. I will see you in my next video. Hopefully it'll be that Game of Thrones review that I've been promising. I've got to stop doing that. I keep promising book reviews and never doing them. But yeah, thank you for subscribing and watching, and have a good life and happy reading and happy everything, man. I'll see you later.